Time for another analysis. Today I'm going to be talking about Mike's first love confession. Yes, this was a love confession. Even though he didn't say the words "I love you," he didn't have to. We're also going to briefly compare this love confession to the love confession that he gave Elle in season 4, because why not? So before we even get to the scene in the shed, we see that Mike is just basically right there for Will the entire season, before and after he actually gets possessed. Season 2 was just like full of Mike and Will's friendship. So by the time we get here, this feels earned. Mike is already crying before he starts talking to Will. Will is possessed, so this is a high-stakes situation. Mike's voice stays very quiet through this entire monologue, and he explains to Will how asking him to be his friend was the best thing he had ever done. He admits that before Will he had no friends, and he chose Will that day in kindergarten. The way that this speech is shot is mostly just Mike's face up close and a few shots of Will's face up close. There are other people in the room, but we don't see them. This is about Mike and Will, and only Mike and Will. This is probably Mike's most emotional scene in the entire series. We see him literally desperate to get Will back. He's pouring his heart out and sharing a memory that is extremely precious to him. The way that he delivered the message and the message that he was delivering sounded an awful lot like, "I love you." He is telling Will that Will is the most important person to him in this monologue. All right, just for fun, let's compare Mike's season 2 monologue to Mike's season 4 monologue. As you can see, some of the facial expressions that Mike makes in the season 4 monologue are similar to the ones he makes in the season 2 monologue. This makes sense. Just like in season 2, this love confession happens in a high-stakes situation. However, a really big difference between the two is the delivery. Like I mentioned in season 2, he delivers the monologue in a very soft-spoken voice, with tears running down his cheeks. In season 4, he's kind of shouting his lines. He also describes the day that he met Elle, similar to what he did in season 2 with Will. However, this one feels inauthentic. He basically claims that he fell in love at first sight, and if you just watch the show, you know that that's simply not true. Most likely, Mike thought that this was the way to go because it worked with Will in season 2. But in season 2, he describes meeting Will and becoming his friend as a choice, the best choice he ever made. But in season 4, he just talks about how finding Elle in the woods randomly started his life. Something that makes these two love confessions feel totally different is the fact that Will is over Mike's shoulder in the season 4 love confession. In my opinion, the season 2 monologue was more genuine.